Greetings everyone, I hope you're fine, I hope you are doing well. I would like to appreciate you for taking this moment, this time to watch this video. Thank you very much. This video has a disclaimer and I just want to begin by saying I do not hate African National Congress. It's just that I have a different perception. So in this video, I would like us to listen to the Secretary General of African National Congress. Let's hear what he had to say.
The DA is doing what it's supposed to do as an opposition party. We can't every time Helen Zille opens mouth and speak, we run after her. She's doing what she's mandated to do from the point of view of their constituency. They organized a march there at Voortrekker Hoogte, a big march there, mobilizing their communities and all of that. It is them. It reflects on them, AfriForum and all of that. We stand for what we want to stand for, non-racialism and unity of the South African people. And that's what we stand for. We are for transformation, not for superior exclusion of one group at the expense of the other. Nelson Mandela said it from the dock. I fought white domination. And therefore I stand against black domination. We stand for non-racialism. That's what we stand for as the African National Congress. What other political parties do around us is what they do.
I would like to begin by saying, if you are selling a product, you have to define and describe that product accordingly. In other words, you should not add lies every time you describe your product or every time you market your product. But sometimes we have this tendency of adding some lies. Why? Because we want our products to be purchased. We want our products to be purchased. But we have to bear in mind that it's a crime to mislead people. It's a crime to manipulate people. It's a crime to misinform people. I believe this is what ANC is doing. Every time they advertise themselves, every time they market themselves, they want to add some lies. In other words, their language is always changing, even if they don't believe so. I don't want to talk about Democratic Alliance and AfriForum because I respect them very much. The reason I respect them is because I know that there's absolutely nothing I can get from them, and they are very much clear when it comes to their policies. I like people who give us their true colors, or who show us their true colors or their true position without compromising. That is why I respect them very much. But I just want to go back to African National Congress. African National Congress is selling a product through misleading people. Why? Because they've realized that most of their customers are not knowledgeable when it comes to the politics. Why? Because every time, or most of the people, whenever they vote, they vote based on what Nelson Mandela has done. They vote based on what ANC has done. In other words, pre-1994 or before 1994. Many people are not voting based on policies. They know their needs. They know all these things. But most people are voting, especially our elders and those people who don't have maybe more knowledge about politics. Whenever they vote based on what ANC has done. Why? Because they are afraid. They don't want to go back to apartheid, because some of these people lived through apartheid. So they know very well that it was rough during apartheid. So they don't want to go back there. So that is why whenever they vote, they don't vote based on policies. So now, African National Congress is aware of that. African National Congress is aware of that. So that is why they are taking advantage of them. That is why they are always saying, this is what we'll do. We'll increase grant. We'll do this, we'll do this, we'll do this, we'll do this, we'll do this. Then at the end of the day, they don't do that at all. Because during election campaign, they speak to black people. They don't speak to white people. They speak to black people. Why? Because they know who are their voters. They know that white people don't vote for African National Congress. They know that very well. So during the election time, they have to speak directly to their customers, their voters. In other words, people who will vote for African National Congress. They have to promise them heaven and earth. But after the elections, they start going back to their true position. In other words, their true position is to serve white supremacy, is to serve the colonialists, is to serve the slave masters. This is what they are doing. So in other words, if they talk about, like for an example, we fight for equality, we fight for all these things, this is their daily song. In other words, they use your needs to attract the voters. But at the end of the day, they don't deliver. After the elections, they stop commenting on these things. They stop saying anything about all these things. And I don't want to be that harsh on Mr. Fikile Mbalula. The reason I don't want to be harsh on him is because this is the true position of African National Congress since the 1950s. I don't know, maybe when it started, there were no compromises. But in the 1950s, in the 50s, 60s, that's when ANC started compromising. And again, the other thing that I would like to talk about is that Nelson Mandela was a member of a political party, which is African National Congress. Nelson Mandela was not God. So it doesn't mean everything that Nelson Mandela says becomes the law. In other words, we can still remove African National Congress. But who is the stumbling block? It's not African National Congress itself, but it's the people. Those who don't understand, because most of the people are being manipulated because they don't know the difference. So, but if these people can be educated, and it's happening. If people can be fully educated, then they will stop voting for African National Congress. And right now, as we speak, it's happening, but it's happening slowly. So that is why, if you have family members who keep on voting, people you know, they keep on voting, and you feel safe to talk to them about politics, you can just explain to them what is happening, what is going on, so that they can have more clarity. Explain to them in their own language, in the language that they can understand, because these people are playing games.
It reflects on them. We will fight for what is right, transformation in this country, equality for all in our nation. And that is what we stand for as the African National Congress. So there's no confusion on our part. Political parties will speak for themselves and what they stand for and what they stand to gain from their own perspectives. But we stand for the people of this country, and the perspectives that we stand for are the perspectives that you don't change when the weather has changed and tomorrow you speak a different language. You stand for what you believe in, and our strategy and tactics is our guide in relation to what we are pursuing. That is why we have never been confused. That GNU can never be a strategic goal, it's a tactical maneuver. And if you say to us, the DA have accepted to participate is a sellout position, then you are getting it wrong, comrades.
In other words, this is their tactic. In other words, GNU is their tactic, is not their goal. But here is the thing. They always say the land policy is their policy. They always say this policy doesn't belong to EFF, doesn't belong to MK, doesn't belong to other political parties, but it belongs to them. So why can't you say, you know what, let me bring these people because we speak the same language when it comes to the land. So this is a clear sign that these people, they don't care. They don't care about Africans. They don't care about black people. But the reason they have to pretend and act as if they care is because they know very well that they cannot get customers or voters amongst white people. They know that very well. So that is why they have to keep on lying to the people. That is why your councillors will always come to you and the mayors and tell you that this is what we need, we are going to do, land distribution, and etc., etc. They talk about your needs, but they use your needs to attract you, not to do anything. It's based on the history of African National Congress. I know many people love Nelson Mandela. I know people love the heroes of ANC. But my position is that these people sold out. But whenever we use a term, selling out, it's as if we are insulting these people. Yes, these people are elders. Yes, these people are old. But it doesn't change the fact that they participated in a selling out position. It's not an insult. They don't care. In other words, the voters of African National Congress need to be educated because these are people who are poor. These are people who are suffering. They are always waiting, but they are waiting in vain because ANC won't do anything to their problems. Because right now they speak about equality, they speak about all these things, but they are doing everything at the expense of black people because he's saying they don't want to do these things at the expense of another group, but they are doing all these things at the expense of black people. They don't care. Look at the economy. Black people are excluded. Black people are excluded because I don't want to say people of color are excluded. Black people are excluded when it comes to the economy of South Africa. So the economy of South Africa is under the leadership of other people. In other words, is being run by other groups except black people. Because when we talk about the tenders and all those things, the tenders are playing a role when it comes to corruption. That's a corruption vehicle. So I don't want to talk about it that much. But we have to be very careful. We have to be very careful. I know there are people who watch my videos and they love ANC. Some people voted for African National Congress, but African National Congress is always participating on a selling out position. So this is their true position to say we are for everybody. We are for everybody. But look at the history of their campaign. They don't go to the suburbs. They don't go to the suburbs, to white communities to say, we want you to vote for African National Congress. They are not doing that at all. So every time they come to black people, they want to use their poverty. They want to use their poverty so that you can just believe in them. But at the end of the day, they won't do anything. They won't do anything. That was African National Congress is like that family member who will always, or every time when they come to you, they're like, they can see that you are suffering, then they promise you heaven and earth, then the moment they go, they are gone. In other words, the moment they leave, they are gone. They won't come back again. Then after 2 years, after 3 years, they come back again. They're like, we will help you. We will do 1, 2, 3. Then the moment they leave, they are gone. And then it becomes a tendency. So this is what is happening when it comes to this political party, which is African National Congress. I know many people love African National Congress, but it's just that my position is that these people are not for black people. They are not standing for black people. So this is their true position. So every time you hear them talking like this is their true position. But what amazes me is when they start campaigning during elections, they act as if they want to bring equality and all these things. I'm not against unity. I'm not against equality. I'm not against all these things. But African National Congress wants to do all these things at the expense of African people or at the expense of black people. Because if you can just look at history since 1994, they have not achieved equality. You have to ask yourself, why? You have to ask yourself what is going on when it comes to economy. They haven't achieved that. When it comes to, for an example, employment, they haven't achieved that. When it comes to salaries, they haven't achieved that. When it comes to many things, they haven't achieved this thing they're talking about, which is equality. That is why every time when you do it at the expense of black people, then there's no way you can achieve it. I don't know what you think about this whole thing. I don't want to talk about DA because I know their position and I respect their position. AfriForum, I respect their position. But African National Congress, it doesn't surprise me, but I feel sorry for those who keep on voting for African National Congress.